All right.
All right.
Welcome. Thank you for being
Hello.
here, everybody. Hello, hello. Hi, Jen.
Hey, Shelly. Hello and welcome to Women Conquer Business. I'm Jen McFarland, and this is.
I'm Shelley Carney. Woohoo!
So, if you have been a listener or a viewer of the show for a long time, you know that usually I'm in here by myself, but that's not the case anymore. And what I want to convey to you is how important it is to get help. So, I realized that I couldn't do this by myself. It just wasn't going to happen. As my business got busier with the pandemic, with just life, Women Conquer Business kind of faded out. And I met Shelly Carney at the She Podcasts live event, and we really hit it off. And so she said, "Hey, what do you want to do? Do you want to do this? Like, do you want to do this together?" And I said, "Sure. Why not? Let's give this a try." So, Shelly, do you want to tell everyone a little bit about yourself?
Oh, you bet. Like Jen said, we met at the Women Conquer Business. I'm sorry, at the She Podcast Live conference, and I got to listen to her talk about her podcast and how much she loved it, but how little time she had for it. So, I am a live stream coach and consultant, and I help encore entrepreneurs to master the technology to live stream video, blog, and podcast at the same time every week. So with my strategy, we go live. We don't do any editing. We make it happen. And that's how we stay consistent. And I have been live streaming for years. Toby and I, my business partner Toby, started a business called Streaming New Mexico back in 2014. And we offered live streaming services to organizations, especially in New Mexico, where we did a lot of our live streaming for different. Different things like we at one point we helped the local, they were a semi-professional soccer team, and we live streamed their games to YouTube for them. And we've done B2B expo, and we've a lot of different things. And I've done a lot of live interviews through that. And we have transitioned over to YouTube as a live streaming process. And we just love it. And that is my forte. I love YouTube and I love live streaming. And that's how we podcast. And so I talked Jen into doing that as well. I said, what if we took out the editing piece? Then could you do a podcast? Oh, yeah. Well, easy.
Yeah,
So,
but I have to admit that my inner perfectionist kind of went, "Oh, I don't
what's the
know that
worst?
we can do this without editing. This is so scary." And I think that it's really important to kind of admit that. Like, on the one hand, I'm like, wow, you could live stream back in 2014. Like, that's kind of
Mhm.
like, because live streaming is becoming like such a game changer right now for many people, especially with the pandemic, I think. But it's also the fact that many people don't get started with making content consistently because of that, like, inner critic, that person that says, "I have to work on it and work on it and work on it to make it perfect." And I will admit that that is part of why Women Conquer Business started to kind of fade out a little bit, because I was like, "I don't have time to worry about it."
Mhm.
And, so even though it was something I loved, it was really hard to keep up with it because I was such a perfectionist about it. So on the one hand, this is very appealing because, hey, it gets out there. On the other hand, it's
Right.
like, oh,
Yeah,
there's no
well, you
editing.
love that part, right? Because you know what? It's never gonna be absolutely perfect, no matter how much you work on something, because you don't have time for that. You have to move on. You've gotta put out another week's content and another week's content, and you gotta move on with your life, and you have other things going on, and that's why everybody pod fades, right? A lot of people pod
Yeah,
fade because there's just too much going on and they can't take care of everything. So we gotta let go of something. And
we
what we
do.
decide to let go of is perfectionism. And you know what happens when you let go of perfectionism is you become more human, you become more relatable, you make mistakes and people hear those mistakes and they're like, "Oh, well they're like me. They're not perfect either."
Exactly.
Oh, that's
I'm
awesome.
certainly not perfect. And it's just funny because you're right. I mean, I got too much to do. And that's part of why. Thanks, Toby. That's part of why that's part of why it kind of fell off. And not only did it pod fade, so pod fading in the podcast world means you do it for a while and then it just kind of goes away. But and usually, so most people don't know this, the average podcast only lasts about 7 episodes. And that's about the time when people say, oh, wow, this is kind of harder than I thought. And then it just kind of peters out. I did it like spectacularly because my last episode was the 100th episode. Like I had been doing it consistently
Mm,
for like 2 years, and then
wow.
number 100, and I think I just went and like nothing happened. I didn't even celebrate that it was 100 episodes. It kind of just
Well, we'll have a
happened.
celebration today. How about
I
that?
know.
Woo, yay, Jen! 100 by yourself. Whee!
Yeah, so it's really ironic that what we're going to talk about today is about creating consistent content when, here I am. Hello, I haven't been in your ears or in your
If
eyes
you
for a
haven't made a
long
mistake,
time.
you haven't learned the lesson.
Exactly, but it's also to say, that it's okay to
Mhm.
to stop as long as you get back on that horse again.
That's right,
And
that's
for
right.
me, I started a new business. It's called Epiphany Courses, and what I found is as a marketing consultant, that's a totally different cap than when I put on my Epiphany Courses cap and I'm creating courses and content and being creative. I need an outlet like this so that I'm a better, you know, educator. So I'm more prepared to just get into that creative headspace. So I want to
Mhm.
thank you for bringing this opportunity to me so that we can talk to each other and kind of share this journey, and make sure that everything is continuing and
Yeah.
that we help share all of our ideas because you have a unique way of getting people in the saddle and going. We talked about this 2 days ago and then you're like, "Well, you wanna do it Thursday?" And I was like, "Well, okay, let's do
I
it."
live stream every day, so it's not a big deal to me.
Yeah, yeah. So, thank you so much for being here, and, is there anything else you wanna share kind of before we get
I'll just give you a quick rundown. I am in my late 50s, so I'm considered an encore entrepreneur. And that's why I work with other fellow encore entrepreneurs, people who have had a career, they have some knowledge in their life that they've built up a bunch of skills, and now they want to create their own at home business. Combining all of those skills along with their passion, something that they love to do. And for me, I love to live stream. I love to reach out to people. I love to have that conversation going online with our chat room. And that's my passion. And then offering, I build up a platform and then I offer it to other people. So when we have guests on our show, we offer that platform to people who want to share their voice and their message. And that's something that I'm passionate about as well. I'm a mom of two grown children, and my daughter's married. She lives currently in Texas. They're on their way to moving to New Hampshire in March. And my son lives at home with his girlfriend, and they're helping out with things around the house. My husband just came home from the hospital yesterday. Woohoo!
Yes.
He had major surgery on January 4th, and he is recovering from cancer. So we'll be going through some chemotherapy and radiation appointments. So if for any reason I'm unable to be here, that is why. I do have a lot of support though, so I should be able to be here for these shows, and I hope
Yeah.
to be because they're a lot of fun. Um, Other than that, I just moving and grooving and having a good time.
Nice. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool. And again, it's just been so lovely to get to know you more and more as we kind of go through this process. I was a guest on your show, and
Mhm,
then you're having a summit or a panel
mhm.
discussion later in the month. I think that's
Next
next
Wednesday.
week.
That's right. Next Wednesday, and Jan
Next
is going to
week,
be on that.
and I'll be a part of that. So I'm
That's
very
right.
excited about that.
And that'll be on
And
our Messages and Methods YouTube channel if you wanna, tune in for that. We're gonna have 6 experts on the panel talking about different aspects of online marketing. It's gonna be really informational and great.
yeah, and I'll be talking about my favorite thing. Well, I have so many favorite things, but I'll be talking about marketing automation, and
Mhm.
that's one of the things that I love. And so let's get into that. Like
Yeah.
let's kind of start going through our little so this is so fancy. Shelly does fancy things like a show flow. Like this is not something that I've ever done. If you've listened to the show before, it's usually just a riff. It's whatever I'm thinking of and I share it.
Well,
So this
when there's
is
2 of you, you have to have some kind of a plan or you're just gonna step on each other all the time.
That's true. So, it's so funny. "Oh, hey, Heather." thank you so much for, figuring out how to find this. So
Oops, you
Heather
found it.
Heather
Oh,
Zeitzwolf.
like, we both have control.
I know.
"Oh, give me the remote. Oh,
So
give me."
Heather Zeitzwolf, she has a podcast called Get the Balance Right, and she is really amazing. I knew her before she podcasts, and then we got to hang out there as well. So please be sure and listen to her show. And she's watching right now on YouTube, which is really
Alright.
exciting. So thank you so much for watching, Heather. And yeah, so we're going to talk a little bit. We have this first section that we call breaking news. And so one of the things that I wanted to talk about this time that's really going on a lot, and in fact, Shelly and her business partner Toby are engaging in this, which is the idea of shoppable posts.
Mhm.
So they have a channel that they're working on, and they're going to go live on Amazon, which is kind of helping people, um, shop and buy things through Amazon. I'm fascinated with things like Pinterest TV, which when I first I have this in my head, I haven't shared it with anyone. I'm like, "Oh, so it's like QVC for creators," you know? And
Yeah,
it's
I'm talking
and it's
about that.
true, you can so say you have like a cooking show or something like that, you can now do that on Pinterest. But what's really important about this, the shoppable posts, is that it includes links, so you can like
Mhm.
click on something. So imagine if you could click on this link that says, Amazon Live channel, and it would like actually take you there. And right
Yeah.
now, YouTube doesn't do that, but there are posts that do that. So the way that I'm really fascinated with this, the way that I really want to share about this is there's multiple ways of doing that. So they're doing shoppable posts. I think they're exploring it on Instagram. You've been able to like click in reels sometimes, and it will take you to a link somewhere else. But now what I'm really exploring, what I'm really interested in is an app called Firework. And because I'm all about automation. So what I like to do, I'm blowing your mind. Thank you, Heather. So what I'm all about is if I create content in one place, I want to be able to have it in multiple places. So say I created an Instagram reel, that's the short form video content. What I could do is also upload that into Firework, add links to the content or the thing that I wanted to do, and it creates it for my website. And those are called web stories. So, what I can do now is you can create videos that are like shoppable posts that are inside on your website called web stories. Now, the power of web stories is they can get picked up by Google and show up in search. So if you've ever seen videos that kind of go through the process. Some of the great ones are like journalists, news channels that kind of go through a story and it almost looks like, a slideshow that's on Instagram. Those are called web stories. And no, I did not get Firework on AppSumo. It's just doing some research and finding it. And I think it's called firework.tv is where that's located. So web stories are kind of what's hot right now in Google land because it's a way to kind of get your videos or get your content. They don't have to be videos, and get your content on your website so that you are really creating things that are showing up in Google and then are drawing people into your website. So the advantage of doing something like Firework and having shoppable posts and then making them web stories on your website is that you're not just sending things out to social media, which you don't own. You're trying to like also draw people in that are like cold traffic, from search. But some of these things take a lot of time, and I've been trying to figure out how to do this in a way that is easy for the small business owner to integrate this into their workflow, and I haven't quite figured it out yet. But it's really exciting to me that so much of this is going on kind of all around us, that we have ways to really draw people in, to repurpose our content in ways that maybe we hadn't really thought of before. Like Heather, who's watching this and saying, I'm blowing, blowing her mind, and she's picking her brain up off the floor. If that's what's happening for you, then, think, know that whatever it is that you want to do is available and it's out there. And that's one of the big things that I'm looking at, that I'm really thinking about a lot, because I don't know that a lot of people know about it yet. I think it's kind of been emerging, but it
Mhm.
hasn't really hit the mainstream yet.
So is this something you want to include on your website?
Yeah, so I've been working on it with Epiphany Courses, and that's the
Mhm.
new business that I have formed with my colleague, Gail Bendert. Gail is a fractional CFO, and I'm, like I said, the marketing consultant. And I have all of these ideas about how to um, get this new business and the content we're putting up on that website, getting that into the hands of not only people that we know, but also the people that we don't know. So one of the ways that we've done that, and I started doing web stories. There's like a plug-in from Google that you can add to your WordPress website, and it was just too hard for me to use. I'm like, I'm not going to keep making these, So I'm looking for easier ways of doing it, and I really think that video is the way to go to integrate these things into your website if you're interested in that. I haven't done it for Women Conquer Business. Most of my focus right now is actually on Epiphany Courses. My marketing
Mhm.
consultancy, which is Women Conquer Business, is kind of just chugging along, and it kind of is continuing. Epiphany Courses is brand new, and I'm actively making content. So what a lot of people don't know is I've been teaching for years. I one of my roles before was to really teach, do a lot of teaching in on marketing. Before that, it was all different kinds of things. I did a lot of training with people, so I've been going all around town in Portland, Oregon, and throughout the state of Oregon, teaching people about marketing. And then also this wisdom that I shared on the Women Conquer Business podcast before Shelly joined. There's a lot of things in there that could all be courses that I can really walk people through and really teach them how to make some things happen in their own business. Kind of like this, shoppable posts thing, but other things. So I'm really focused on that. I'm creating a lot of content there. And that's really what I'm looking at the shoppable posts for, because I think for course creators, content creators, I think this could be a really big thing.
Well, that's awesome, and I think that, it would be great if in the future sometime we talk about creating courses and the software that you would use or we would recommend to somebody who's just starting out with creating their own courses and then marketing those courses, because I wanna do that. So of course, I imagine everybody wants to do that if I
Mhm.
wanna do it, right?
Right. Sure, we can talk about that. Oh, we do have a question from Heather Zeitzwolf. Do you know if you can embed the video from Firework into an email like Loom? So, what I would suggest in this case is when you create a video for like a web story, something like that, what you do is you create a poster. So it's kind of like your, I don't know, like your video card or your thumbnail if you do things on YouTube. And you use that, and then you would hyperlink it to your website where you've embedded it. And then the video would play. And part of that is because you're driving people back to your website. You always want to go back to that place where the content that you own, the information that you own. So I think that that's how I would suggest doing it. I don't know if you can embed it like in Mailchimp so that the video can play, which I think is what the question was, Heather. You can let me know if that was the question. And I'm just learning Firework now, but it won't take me long. I love software, so I'm always learning this stuff.
And, while we're talking about learning stuff, that is the huge, big, giant reason that I decided, you know what, I need to be on this podcast with Jen because if nothing else, I'm going to learn a ton of stuff. And I am. I'm learning all kinds of stuff. I mean, from the get go, every time I talk with Jen, it doesn't matter if it's on the phone or if it's during a show, I learn something that I can use. So it's pretty awesome. So that was your breaking news.
That's the
Um,
breaking news. What do
that
you
was
have?
your
Do you have any
break
breaking news? That's pretty breaking. I don't know.
um, my only breaking news is we started doing the Amazon Live this week, and,
Yes.
it's been a lot of fun. We have had a store on Amazon. First, you have to be an influencer, then you get a storefront and you put things in your store and you recommend them to people, and then you can also then apply on your phone, to
Oh, okay.
be a live streamer and to have your own live stream, as an influencer. and then you do your live streams. And there's a few tricks because we like using StreamYard for our live streams so that we can multi-stream. We want to go to YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. We want to
Mhm.
go everywhere at the same time to save us
Right.
time from spreading things around. So we multi-stream. And because we were using StreamYard, there was a few extra clicks that we didn't know about that we had to really research deeply into some YouTube videos to figure out. So we had tried starting going at 1 o'clock on Monday, and that didn't quite work. So we kept at it and kept at it and kept at it, and then we finally did our show at 5 o'clock. But we got it done. We don't give up, and that's what I can say to everybody: don't give up,
Don't give
because
up.
you keep at it, it'll happen, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do it.
Absolutely, and, I think I've joked about this before, that I've recorded entire podcasts not knowing the microphone wasn't on. I mean, I
Oops.
think, I mean, I think we've all been there and we've all done that, and I think that it's just important to keep going. Now, I will say don't do what I did. I remember the first time oh, yeah, and please, follow the Amazon Live channel. It's a great thing, and you can kinda see
And we'll
how
be
it's
live
done.
later today. What we talk about is photography right now, because Toby is professional photographer, videographer, and all of that. So we're focusing on small set photography, and today we're going to talk about the splash shot, where you drop an ice cube and you catch the splash with your when you're taking the photo. So yeah, so
That's
it's kind
cool.
of fun, and that's what we'll be talking about today on our show. So follow us there and check it out. And even if you don't buy anything, you'll learn stuff about photography and lighting
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
cleaning the floor because we made a mess.
I've never figured out how people do that, so I may have to check that out
Yeah.
if I'm around later on today. Today's a pretty full day. It looks like we have a question from Heather, about how big of a following do you need to be an influencer to
Mhm,
access this?
mhm.
And I think she's talking about accessing Amazon as a as a s in this way,
Right,
streaming.
right. So if you go to just Google Amazon influencer, it'll take you. They have a page set up that tells you everything you need to know. Basically, if you have, we've seen people on there who live stream who only have about 100 people following them on YouTube, but we don't know how big their Facebook is. Our YouTube is about 6,000. Um, and we have a lot on Facebook, but we've had our store for a couple of years, and this live stream thing is pretty new. So just try it. Go to Amazon Influencer and try it. Try
Yeah.
signing up and see if they accept you, and then you'll know.
And I think that that's the big thing. If you see the sign I have behind me, and for those of you listening, it says make content habits. And I think that one of the biggest things, especially now that I'm emerging from this pod fade and all of the things, it's, what we're really trying to say is just try it. Like get out
That's
there,
right.
come up with the thing that you want to talk about, and then just keep doing it over and over again.
That's right.
It's a
And don't
habit.
let things get in your way and give you excuses not to do it.
That's right. I
It's too
mean,
easy to not do it.
there's so many reasons to not do it, but, like, you need to do it, like I was saying, I've recorded an entire podcast with the microphone off. The one thing I did that I wouldn't recommend is that then when I re-recorded it, I could tell that I was agitated, like, you
Mhm,
could hear
mhm.
it in my voice.
Yep,
So I would say, "Stay positive,"
yep.
you know,
We
even if
we
things
do it
don't work.
all the time. We've done this for years and years, and something happens a lot. Call it a rehearsal. Say, "That was a rehearsal. I got all my mistakes
Yeah.
out of the way. Now I'm ready for the real thing."
Yeah, and part of it, it's so funny because people, he's not really my cup of tea, but a lot of people like Gary Vaynerchuk, and
Mm,
they forget that, like, yeah, he had this wine business, but he like the Gary Vaynerchuk you see now is because he started just making YouTube videos. And if I bet if you went back to whenever he did his first, videos, they weren't
mhm.
very good.
And that's for everybody. You can
And
look at anybody who looks
anybody.
professional now. You go back to their day one, you'll see a big change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like this little background I have, like my desk, the way it's set up, I just started noticing that people have like fun backgrounds. And I was like,
Mhm.
oh, well, I can do that. It's
Yeah.
challenging sometimes because I don't always keep my desk that clean. That's a real desk back there,
It forces you
but
to do that, doesn't it?
it does. Yeah, I walked in last night and my husband had like set all this stuff out here. I'm like, well, you could just put it away after you. I didn't say that to him, but I thought it because I was like, "This is always clean in here now." But it's just, you pay attention to what's going on, you do what you can, and you start just knocking it out. There are all these videos out there about, setting up content schedules and all kinds of stuff, but, it's really important to just get started, and then you can worry about all of that stuff later. That's
That's
what
right.
I think,
That's
it is getting it out there. So this is we have another question about Amazon Live and what you could actually sell on there.
anything
Um,
on Amazon. If there are books and you know the author, or even if you're selling your own books, interview the author or talk about yourself writing the book and show the book off. Absolutely, you can sell books. You can sell anything that's on Amazon through that marketplace.
well, that's pretty neat.
Yeah.
I'm an avid reader. I'm reading a really good book right now called Minimalist Entrepreneur. It's by the founder of Gumroad, which is like a really a content creator's PayPal, so it really works with like helping if you have like PDFs for downloading or different types of things that you're selling. It makes that process much easier. So I don't think you even need to have a website with a storefront for e-commerce to use Gumroad. Like Gumroad kind of handles a lot of that. And he talks a lot about the process of starting a business, some of the things that you have to do. And what I love about it is it's none of the flash in the pan kind of things that you see everywhere. It's like what you actually have to do to start a business. And he talks really honestly about some of the mistakes that he made and a lot of the different things that are just going on in the world and people that he knows and the mistakes that they've made. So, if you're looking for a good book right now, I would say The Minimalist Entrepreneur is a really good one. If you're really diving into the details or you're not getting traction in the different places that you're working on. Let's see.
Another question. Do they take the same cut as if you were to sell their stuff through your own website? Uh, what happens is the people who purchase items off of Amazon pay Amazon whatever Amazon's price is. They don't pay extra. And if Amazon is running a coupon, they get to use that coupon. And sometimes the Amazon offers you as the live streamer special deals that you can offer during your live stream. So people will purchase. Um, and then Amazon gives you a commission as if you were a salesperson. So, like if you were to shop at Best Buy and buy a product from a salesperson there, maybe you buy a computer at Best Buy, you don't have to then pay anybody else. You've paid Best Buy. Best Buy takes care of their own employees. Amazon takes care of their salespeople by giving them a commission, which would be worked into the markup of that product price. Yeah.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah. Did you wanna get into, let's see, what was it? 3 thing?
The training and advice? I don't know, I
Yeah,
feel like we've been kind of playing around with that, but I
let's
think that
I need to know more about what that is.
more about what is.
Wait, what kind of a
Wait,
thing
what?
is thing thing? What is
Oh,
it
thing
called?
3?
Yeah.
Oh, the training and advice. Oh, I thought that was the tweak of the week, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So,
I
the
guess that's what we
training
were doing.
yeah, so
It's a new show flow,
it's a
everybody.
new show flow, we're trying to figure this out. So,
Call
um,
to action is subscribe, people.
the call to action is to subscribe. We don't have anything fancy because this is
Oh, that's not it. Sorry, wrong
all
button.
just yeah, we just have all of this new newness. We're trying to figure this out. So, what we really
There
wanted
you
to
go.
talk about today is around
There's our call to action.
creating creating consistent content. What you need to do in order to create consistent content. So right now we've been talking about like just getting out there and doing it. But for some people, I think that it it really doesn't work that way. And for some people, and I want to really honor that and talk about that. For some
Okay,
people,
yeah.
it's there's a lot of analysis paralysis, or maybe you really want to do that thing and you don't know how to get started.
Mm.
And so it's easy for us who are sitting here to say, "Hey, just get started, just do the thing, And at the same time, I want to honor that part of me that was like, "Yeah, but you haven't been doing this for like a year." Or maybe longer. I don't know. I don't know when it kind of, COVID time, everything kind of changes. But it there is an easy way to get started, and it is about finding that, and it's one of the things I talk to clients and other people about a lot, is kind of around readiness. And it's about like, what is it that you're willing to do? So everybody says you have to do video. Everybody says, and it's kind of like when I talk to people, what I really want to convey is, yeah, everybody does this or that, but what is it that you wanna do? Like, what is it that you feel most comfortable doing? And usually that is where I start with people is, if you really don't wanna be on video, you don't have to be on video. And maybe Shelly disagrees with that, because
No,
she's
I don't,
really,
I don't.
but I just, I think that the most important thing is to really do a little bit of soul searching and figure out what it is that you want to talk about. And believe me, don't worry about the fact that somebody else is talking about what you want to talk about. How many people talk about marketing? I mean, my gosh, it's like everywhere, right?
90% of
So
people talk about marketing.
everybody's talking about marketing, and here I am. Let's talk about marketing. Um, and so don't worry about what other people are doing. Don't worry about how other people are doing it. Think about what it is that you want to do, what you want to talk about, and then just come up with something. But then you have to have that accountability
Mhm.
with either another person or something that will get you going. And a lot of times, it's interesting. One of the conversations I had at She Podcast that was pretty fascinating is around somebody's like, "But why do you do it? Why do you like having a podcast? Why do you do it?"
Mm.
And I kept saying, "Well, I like it," and blah, and he's like, and this person, and he was like, "No, why?" And I'm
Mhm.
like, "Well, money." Like at the end of the day, it's
'Cause
like
money.
money. And he was like, "That's what I'm talking about." And that's really what's going to get you going, is figuring out how to either monetize it, or maybe you're really passionate about reaching as many people as you can. Whatever it is, that is really going to get you out of bed in the morning and get you creating, that's that's the thing that you have to keep coming back to. Now, money, that may not come right away, but it's still, the more that you're talking about, who you are, what you do, how you help people, it helps people understand. And I think that when we talk about money, we have to understand how many touch points it takes before somebody's willing to engage with you as a customer or buy your product. A lot of people don't know you. So think of it as a way, if this is for your business, to really get to know people, and then perhaps they will go down that further path with you of sales. One of the things about Women Conquer Business was it was never super focused on what I do. It was more about having fun and meeting cool people and giving back. And this time we are going to talk more about marketing, because it's what I do. I don't think a lot of people knew what it is that I do. So, in terms of training and advice, I mean, I think for me, that's, if you're fearful about talking about what you do, or fearful about content creation, maybe that just sounds like really big. That's how I would suggest getting started. What do you think, Shelly? Is that similar or different to what your thoughts are?
Yeah, I think you need to speak things aloud in order to make them happen, right?
Hmm.
When you and I started talking about this, I brought it up. I said, "Let's do this and let's talk about it and let's get together and how about this and how about that?" And then you bring in ideas, but we speak them aloud. And then when we do that, not only do I hear it and you hear it, but the universe hears it. And when we speak it into a podcast, it has the opportunity to spread out across the world. When we speak it out in, onto all the channels that we're broadcasting to right now, we are on 3 Facebook pages, we're on LinkedIn, and we're on 2 YouTube channels. And anybody out there in the universe could find us and hear us and start following us and connect with us and collaborate with us. But none of that happens until we hit go live and
Mhm.
start talking. It can all be in our heads, and we can think about how wonderful it might be if we were to do it, or we can just do it and perfect it as we go. It's a
Yeah.
practice, and practice makes perfect. But if you don't start the practice, you can never get to perfect.
That's right, and the other thing too is so there's this thing, like, if you build it, they will come, it's from one
Mhm.
of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
And truly, yes, we are broadcasting to, like, a jillion places, and it's a podcast, and it's gonna live in infamy forever and ever. Because when you put something on the internet, it kinda stays there.
Mhm. That's right.
And, uh in the beginning, not a lot of people are gonna be listening or seeing it. So, if it's the idea that of putting it out there is what the scary part is, the truth is people are just gonna think it's really cool, and they're not gonna criticize it anywhere near as much as you criticize it yourself. It's kinda like going to the gym and you're like, "Oh god, I'm gonna look like an idiot," and it's like, nobody's looking at you. Everybody's in their own head thinking about their own exercises, and it's the
Yeah,
same thing when
yeah.
you do some sort of creative endeavor.
Mhm.
It's the
It's your
same.
focus, it's your perspective. I could focus completely on, "Oh, we totally messed up the first live Amazon thing. Oh my gosh, it was such a disaster." But I don't care. You know what? We tried,
Yeah.
we kept working at it, and then we had success. That's what I wanna focus on, is the success part, and that we were determined to make it work, and we did.
That's right. Yeah, and here we are. We're doing this. I didn't even know I
Right.
could go live on Amazon, but hey, maybe, and,
Yeah.
like Heather says, I can live out my QVC fantasy.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what gets you up in the morning and gets you going. It's just the idea of, like, sharing the stuff that you like, the things that you
Mhm.
see, or living out this fantasy of living, QVC or whatever it is. But the only way that it happens, you're absolutely right, is if you start saying the stuff out loud and you start, like, sharing it. You have to share it,
Mhm.
with the
And don't
world
be
so that
afraid
they
of
know.
rejection. Rejection never killed anybody. If
No,
somebody says no to you, you're not gonna die. If
and
nobody listens to your live stream, you're not gonna die.
it's okay.
It's
Yeah, and
okay.
he talks about that a lot in The Minimalist Entrepreneur, how,
Mm,
and his thing is you shouldn't even start marketing until you have 100 customers, and I was like, "Oh, what?" It's like that marketer in me was like, "Oh my gosh," but then it made a lot of sense, like, when he explained the whole thing.
mhm,
Um But, like, the true thing is, like, you have to be able to sell, you have to be able to talk to people about what you do, and you have to be willing to accept no. Even if you're starting your business and your first few people are your friends and family, some people are gonna be like, "Yeah, that's nice, I'm not interested," you know? And that's the
mhm,
same thing when you're creating content, if you're talking about that thing that you like, at first people will be like, I'm not that interested." But then in time, people do become interested. You have to give things time. So it's also you can't do a one and done
mhm.
and say, "Well, that didn't work out. Only like 2 people watched it." Like, that's
Yeah,
not
but
gonna
what
work.
if one of those 2 people told 10 people, "You know what? You could go to a meeting right after you saw the video and you go, "You my best friend was on the live stream and she talked about Amazon Live and I'm gonna do that now and all my friends." You
You
don't know
don't
what's
know.
gonna happen. It could just, ripple effect.
Absolutely, and doing
Yeah,
it more often, and you're sharing more tips and tricks and all kinds of stuff, that's how these things grow and blossom.
that's right.
So, I guess that if we were to, wrap up kind of this, like, training and advice, which I feel like it's been kind of the thread throughout. It's
Mhm.
really it really does come down to jumping in there. And sometimes you have to fool yourself into doing it. You have to trick yourself. You have to say, "Oh, well, nobody's gonna see it anyway." And there's,
Yeah,
like, some freedom in that, right? Like,
yeah,
nobody's gonna see it anyway, so, like,
that's right,
what's the harm, you know?
that's right.
And then, like Shelly said, it's not gonna kill you.
That's not. You know
It's
what? And you
absolutely
might actually reach somebody who really needed to hear what you had to say.
that's right. So if you like to write, start writing that blog that you always thought about. If you like to make video, make those videos. If you like, whatever it is, you know, share a bit of yourself and you never know where that's going to lead.
I like it. I like
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
And if you like this, be sure to subscribe
We get yeah, wait, there we go.
'cause we're gonna keep doing this week after week. And because we've made a commitment to do that. And my commitment is to bring back Women Conquer Business as a weekly, live stream and podcast for people because I really enjoy it. And so please like and share, tell your friends about it. Um, yeah, I think that that's a good thing. I have started updating the website. So you'll find not just my picture, but also Shelly's picture on there. And we'll be posting the new shows as soon as the episodes are ready.
That's
So
right.
um, so there you go. So go to
Yay.
womenconquerbiz.com/podcast and you'll be able to find all of the information about the new show, the new episodes, everything like that.
That
Um,
address is in the crawl, and we'll also put it in the show notes.
absolutely. And so, do you want to talk about the tweak of the week? Did you have a tweak of the week or?
Week of the week. No, I want you to talk about yours, and I'll think about it while you're talking. I'm sure I'll
Okay.
have questions about yours, in fact.
So, what I found in my own life, and I think that it might be true for others as well, is I do better if I am grounded in the morning, and if I know what it is that I'm supposed to do, not only for the week or the day, but like setting quarterly goals and things like that.
Mm, mhm.
One of the problems that I used to use this program called Monday.com for
Mhm.
like project management. I think it's pretty popular and well known.
Yeah.
But it became a little bit expensive and it was really for I think it's really for larger teams, but it's a great project management software. You kind of have to build out kind of what you want to make it happen. I think other people use things like ClickUp and things like that. I'm trying to simplify everything that I'm doing. So I use a Mac and I've joined a community called fizzle.co, and they had somebody on there talking about ways that you can develop some productivity habits as a content creator. And the I can't remember his name, I wish I could. He was talking about things or OmniFocus, all of these different task management programs that you can use and it's really cool. So Things 3 is Mac only, and you can get it at the App Store. But what I like about it is you can put in tasks and say, "These are my weekly tasks," and then it will, continue to, like, restart and show you the next tasks that you have to do for the next week. So it kind of is really good at helping you build in, like, weekly habits around the things that you need to do every week but that you may find that you are forgetting. So one of the tweaks of the week is, and it automates, it goes into your calendar. It helps you know what's coming up. It really helps you with all of these types of things. So you can install it on your iPad, your Mac, your phone, and it is not a monthly charge, which I really
Mhm.
like. You
Yeah.
can subscribe and it's like a one-time charge. I think on your Mac it's like $50. And I like it. It's not really for teams. It's really built for one um, one person. But I really like it because it's helping me keep kind of my personal tasks in line. It's helping me keep keep me on track with some things. I have in front of me a board. I have a huge whiteboard in my office, and I have all of my Q1 goals up here. And then in things for each goal, it's a project, and then I have like the tasks underneath. And so if that kind of thing is interesting to you, or if you need a way to kind of really keep on task with some things, that's really what I recommend. I think that the more that, we're talking about habits, we're talking about creating content consistently. One of the ways that you do that is you systematize it, you automate it, you make it part of your workflow. And having a task management app that you use that is low cost and really easy to use. That's what's really appealing to me about things is like I don't have to build anything. I don't have to think about it too much. I can just add things and say, it's probably why it's called things. I could just add things. I could just add things and it will remind me and it will tell me what I have on my calendar and what it is that I need to do. And I think that for many people, especially the longer COVID goes on and we're kind of in this kind of alternative universe, the longer it goes on, the better it is for us to really build in some consistent habits and some scheduling. So
Yeah.
that's my tweak of the week.
Okay. Well, I found now at Toby's house where I am for work, he has the Alexa. I shouldn't say it very loud because she listens in
Yeah,
and
I
then
was
she
gonna
gets
say.
all excited. But he has connected it to both of our calendars. So if I have something on my Google calendar, she will, hey, this is coming up, do, and send you little notices. So all I have to do is make sure everything important is on my Google Calendar or his Google Calendar, and she'll tell us about it. And then, of course, she'll do reminders. He takes medication twice a day and another medication once a week. So he has Alexa remind him to do that so that he
Sure.
doesn't, forget to do it so that I don't have to keep reminding him, "Did you take your meds today?" Because, I forget too. So
Sure.
that's another way that if you have one of those Alexa things in your home, connect it to you what you're already using. And if you're using
Sure.
the Google Calendar, then that's a great way to do it.
Absolutely, unless you're like me. I don't have one of those. And I also turned Siri. I live in a Mac house, and I turned
Mm.
Siri off. I feel like I don't need, Amazon or Apple to know any more about me than they already do.
Yes. Yes.
Um, and I also, I found I was talking to Alexa too much. I was saying
Oh,
things. I was just trying to see what I could get Alexa to say back, and I was like, "This is also a huge time waster
it's
because
true.
I'm
It's
asking her
true.
to tell me jokes all the time." So,
Yeah.
um,
Well, Toby lives
so
alone, so sometimes that's
oh,
all the person he has to talk to.
exactly. So I know you can totally integrate all of that, in and I am like this strange well, I already know I'm like a weirdo in a lot of ways, but I am this strange like balance of like digital minimalism and
Mhm.
being everywhere. So I
Yeah.
believe in privacy. That's why I have a lot of problems with TikTok. Toby and I were talking about TikTok right before
Mhm.
we went live.
Mhm.
Because TikTok they have in their privacy or in their terms of service policy, they say that they can take all of your biometrics and nobody knows exactly what that means. But it's concerning to me. And then a lot of privacy people say, well, it's the same as any other, social media account. But I at least for right now, I think I'm opting out of making videos on TikTok.
I understand. No,
So
I
I,
don't do it because I just don't get into TikTok. It doesn't work for me. But, it came to my mind was, The Incredibles, where the syndrome says, when everybody's special, then nobody is, right? So I'm
yeah,
feeling like, well, when nobody's private anymore, everybody's on every kind of thing,
that's
and
true.
everybody's private anymore because you can't see it all. You can't look for everybody. You can't and you don't have any interest anymore. You're like, "There's nothing private anymore, so There's no
Yeah.
secret, and there's no excitement
And
anymore.
I think that's true, and, one of the things that is getting me more interested in doing, TikTok or TikTok and Instagram in particular. Pinterest has always been searchable. Like, one of the big advantages of Pinterest is that it's searchable, and Google recently announced that they're indexing all of your your Instagram videos and TikTok videos, which means they'll be searchable online. So,
Mm,
now TikTok is becoming good for SEO, and I'm like,
mm,
how does that
mhm,
let me
mhm.
think about
Yeah,
that." So it is kind of a balancing act, like of privacy, but everything's public now. You know, I don't have all
mm,
the answers.
yeah.
I'm navigating it just like everybody else,
Yeah.
I
Well, I
think.
think you need to really focus on, okay, who is it that I'm speaking to? Who is my target audience? And do they hang out there? And we
Yep.
don't feel like Encore entrepreneurs hang out very much on TikTok as compared
Nope.
to YouTube. So we focus on that.
It trends very young.
It
They're
does.
really targeting like 13 to 18-year-olds, anybody under 24. That's really the target market. You're right. There's not a lot of encore entrepreneurs there. Um, yeah. And we
Yeah,
only have so much time ourselves to be
that's
in
right.
places, you can't be everywhere.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's the other reason why my content, I have a slightly different audience. I don't know how many business owners are just hanging out on TikTok. I, you know, I spend most of my time focusing on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
I do have a Pinterest following, and then I'm focusing more on YouTube just because it's such a great search engine.
That's right.
I'm super nerdy. Like, I'm like, let's do things for search.
That's right.
So,
Well, for those of you listening, again, Google is a search engine, YouTube is owned by Google, and it also qualifies as a search engine, and Pinterest is a search engine.
yes,
So those are really good places to be for double the bang on your buck.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Well, I think it's probably about time to close out. I did not prepare an inspirational quote or anything like that.
I think
Um,
we are an inspiration
but
in
we
ourselves.
are uh, we are the inspirational nugget. That's how we are closing the show.
um, well, here's the inspirational nugget. Jen had experienced pod fade, and
Yeah,
she found a friend, made a new friend,
made a friend.
and brought it back, right? We brought it back to life,
That's right.
and, you can do that too. So be inspired. Yeah,
100%. Thank you
yeah,
so much, Shelly. Thank
yeah,
you, everyone, for being here.
right.
And thank you, Shelly, for bringing this back. And
I love it.
yeah, and we'll see you next
Mm,
week.
that's right. We will be back next week, so please, please, please subscribe, tune in, and, we would love to have any questions or feedback from you so that we can address any questions or, concerns, in the next show, so please do that.
Thank you, and thank you, Rosa. Rosa,
Rosa,
Linda,
yes, Rosalinda.
yeah, she's been commenting throughout, and thank you so much for being here too.
That's right. Thank you. Thank you for joining the Women Conquer Business podcast, hosted by Shelley Carney and Jen McFarland. Please subscribe and leave a comment or question regarding your most challenging content creation or business problem. Then share this podcast with family and friends so they can find the support they need to expand their brand and share their message with the world. Check the show notes for links to valuable resources and come back again next week.